If you're angry about having to press 1 for English, think All Lives Matter is a better alternative to Black Lives Matter, and think social justice warrior is an insult, you're gonna want to hate this show. But I sincerely hope you can give us a shot, because you are exactly who I want to reach. Pour yourself a drink, alcoholic or not, sit back and relax. We're gonna die in a pit of failure and get laughed off the internet. I'm yet another insufferable white guy shouting into the void. I'm a nobody who hopes he's an ally and fears he's butting into a conversation between people who actually matter. We're gonna try to make talking about important social issues fun and entertaining. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the couch. My name is Joe, and this is Sofa Justice Warriors, a show that analyzes media from a social justice perspective. We made a whole video about that. You can find it at the top of this page if you're on our website. Or if you're on YouTube and have annotations turned on, click here. Otherwise, you can go to this address. This is a show that will take many forms. Sometimes it'll be a free-form conversation with guest hosts. Sometimes, like today, it'll just be you and me, person to person. Sometimes it'll be inexcusably weird. But my promise to you is this. On this couch, on this side of the camera, while never perfect, we will always try our best not to be assholes. Which brings us to the topic of our first show. In the mid to late 1990s, several groups of marginalized people gathered together to have a voice. Black people, gay people, disabled people, trans people, along with everybody under the sun who had been given the short end of the stick, socially speaking. Now, those people asked of those with any influence in any social arena, hey, can you maybe not treat us like shit? And the answer we as a country gave them was a collective, no! Fuck you! I'm ashamed to admit that as a scared white man, I was a part of this collective no. I was a teenager, and to be fair to teenagers, that's exactly where this kind of asinine selfishness belongs. That's where it should begin and end. You're allowed to be a stupid kid. You're not allowed to be an asshole adult. This no we gave to human beings treated worse than ourselves was, and is, the tantrum of a spoiled child. This no took many forms. From sitcoms mocking and misrepresenting the rising support of social change.
Tonight's broadcast of The Masculine Feminist has been commandeered by the secret society No Ma'am, National Organization of Men Against Amazonian Masterhood.
To political pundits perpetuating white supremacy.
If any race of people should not have guilt about slavery, it's Caucasians. The white race has probably had fewer slaves and for a briefer period of time than any other in the history of the world.
To those with very public voices mocking those beneath them on the social ladder just openly and overtly.
And niggas have got to go. Every time black people want to have a good time, ignorant ass niggas fuck it up. Can't do shit.
Change was coming in the 90s, and those of us at the top of our social categories weren't fucking having it. And let's be clear, when we talk about social categories, we're talking about race, sexuality, gender, ability, age, host of other qualifiers up to and including such woefully ignored dividers as body size and hair color. Basically, human beings love deciding who's on top and who sucks. Almost entirely arbitrarily, mind you. And in the 90s, we as a country took great pride in shouting like an angry, stereotypical grandpa. Get off my lawn! Stop playing victim! Can't everybody just take a joke? Which brings me to the title of our first episode. Political correctness. There's nothing political about not being an asshole. In the mid-1990s, a film was released called PCU. It was a Jeremy Piven comedy vehicle in the vein of Animal House, whose message was, solely and entirely, that everybody should just shut the fuck up and let the straight white people party on unimpeded. Don't examine yourself, you're fine. Everybody else is the problem. Now that's a comforting message if it applies to you. The problem is, it didn't apply to everybody. I can think of no better movie than this to start my ongoing war against assholery disguised as righteous victimhood. This film is a wonderful example of throwing a tantrum because somebody respectfully asked you to be nicer to them. So the film begins with Electric Flag guitarist Mike Boomfield at the Monterey Pop Festival.
This is something, man. This is our generation, man. All you people, we're all together, man. It's groovy. And dig yourselves, because it's really groovy.
This is a 60s peace hound used here to co-opt a message about peace, born in partial ignorance, used as a weapon to tell people to just shut up and just be cool. And what was cool in this film, as well as America's mind at the time, in my opinion, is just let us treat you like shit. Fat guy asks you not to make fun of him? Shut up, fat guy, be cool. Black woman asks you not to be casually racist and sexist around her? Shut up, black woman, be cool. Trans person wants you to use the pronouns of their actual gender? Nothing! We pretend trans people don't exist. From moment one, this film is tone deaf as fuck. So, we open the film with a pre-frosh. A soon-to-be college freshman touring the campus of Port Chester University, clever, to find out if he wants to attend the school. Pre-frosh is lost. A woman helps him out.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
He creepily stares at her ass.
End of the hall.
While she gives him a chastising eyes up here throat clear, she then also smiles after he walks away, telling young men everywhere, it doesn't matter what they say or how they act, women love being objectified. Now I know what many of you are thinking, oh that's fine, who cares? As with all things we'll ever talk about on this show, it's not that it happened once. Anything can happen once, it's fine. It's that it almost always happens. That's gonna be a running theme. Now this woman is never developed nor given a reason to like this man, but naturally she winds up in the end because that's how movies treat women. I could actually do a whole episode on that. Next, Pre-Frosh meets Jeremy Piven, our perennial man-child asshole treated as put-upon victim and savior.
Coffee.
Coffee now!
He's the head of a formerly prestigious fraternity that has fallen into ruin. The film treats this as a good thing, by the way, because the only way to grow out of terrible traditions is cynicism, evidently. Piven is in college in the 90s. Now, this is the birthplace of political correctness, really. He pretty immediately explains what political correctness is.
And they call it PC.
PC?
Politically correct. And it's not just politics, it's everything. It's what you eat, it's what you wear, and it's what you say. And if you don't watch yourself, you can get in a buttload of trouble.
Except, that's not what political correctness is. Political correctness as a term is just a couple of words people utilize to say, hey, you're being an asshole. That's it. The thing about being an asshole is we don't get to decide whether or not we're being one. We don't get to spew incredibly hurtful diarrhea of the mouth, then decide that since we weren't feeling hateful, nobody should feel harmed. Nobody gets to feel harmed. We didn't do any damage because we didn't mean it. We didn't mean to cause damage, so no damage was done. Simply put, and this is important, if you accidentally shoot somebody in the face, you don't get to decide that they're not dying simply because you didn't mean to shoot them. It's not complicated. So when people say that you're being racist or sexist or any of the other terms that make you defensive, maybe stop and think before you immediately dismiss them.
You gotta get all this 50s cornball shit out of your head.
Political correctness wasn't people telling us to stop having fun, as this movie loves to claim. It was people asking us to treat them better. So how does the movie portray this? Let's talk about straw people. The straw man argument is one of many forms of the logical fallacy. Simply put, it's the act of fabricating a version of your debate partner's argument that doesn't match what they're actually saying or feeling, and arguing against that instead of what they're actually saying. Movies and television do the shit out of this. PCU, in particular, creates entirely made-up caricatures of multiculturalist movements, painting them as people who just want to be angry.
Sisters, form a wall!
No.
Like, that's all they want, is to be angry. That's it.
What's that supposed to mean?
Yeah, cock man, oppressor.
A feminist, in reality, is anybody who thinks women shouldn't be treated like shit or in any way unfairly simply because they're women. Whether you say it or not, odds are good that you're a feminist. This movie, however, paints a very different picture of feminists.
I think he meant his, phallus.
In this movie, feminists hate men. And fun.
You participated in a phallus naming?
No, I have no idea.
You stay away from him, Sam.
This is a straw feminist. This is not what feminism is. This is what a frightened man's version of feminism is, and that's the version with which this movie would rather argue, because it's easy to win when you pretend the other side are saying things they aren't.
Bye. Thanks for the party, oppressors.
One of these straw feminists, the traditionally attractive one who isn't allergic to fun because of course, used to date Jeremy Piven because obviously. Next, we're introduced to cause heads, because 90s cynicism dictates that the only reason anybody cares about anything outside of themselves is because it's fashionable.
Wait till you meet the cause heads.
In this screenwriter's mind, nobody could possibly care about anything unselfishly.
Save the whales! Gays in the military now!
Free Nelson Mandela!
They freed him already.
So our heroes respond to people committing the ultimate crime, protesting something.
What shall we eat?
Red meat!
Why don't we eat it?
It's murder!
By dumping red meat on a bunch of vegans because fuck anybody who believes a thing I don't. I could barely hear the movie over the sound of the screenwriters masturbating whilst high-fiving. Our main characters are bullies. And that's perfectly okay, because people with opinions other than ours can fuck right off. Next, Pre-Frosh runs into a group of black men who immediately engage in the kind of behavior Fox News wishes were as commonplace as they'd like to pretend that it is.
Excuse me. This, my friend, is a white devil's conspiracy.
They complain about how racist it is that the chalk the school uses is white and tell our hero to his face that he's a white devil. These are straw people. That's not a thing. Like, nobody does that. A key rule: if somebody paints the other side as the most ridiculous elements of the other side, you might not want to trust them. So the film's saying that anybody complaining about racism must be ridiculous and their arguments must be baseless. The black characters in this movie are not talking about societal biases or systemic racism or any of the problems therein. They're literally complaining about the color of chalk.
And the chalk is white. And even the copy machine paper.
So, screenwriter, whoever the fuck you are, it's less funny to paint these as real people. I get it. I write. If you'd have had them coming in and complaining about the wage gap or anything of the like, that's not ridiculous or funny enough to be in a comedy. I get it. But should you have written this movie to begin with if you needed to do that? Was that necessary? Are you not talented enough to make a movie that's funny without fucking other people? Because that's what you did. You fucked people. Even if you're not racist, theoretical writer, you're enabling people to be racist. You're giving them ammunition. You are reaffirming to them that yes, you're correct in your racism, and all of the people claiming that things are racist, they're just complaining about the color of chalk and fuck them. Why would you do that? Why? What is to be gained? Money. Okay, alright, fine, you win. So nobody's racist and bigotry ended the moment MLK opened his mouth and fixed it forever, or when Obama was elected, or when the slaves were freed, or any other moment white people drudge up to move the goalposts away from right now and back into the past where it's comfortable. We're good people now. It was those other white people who were the problem. The kid runs away from the mob of straw people he's just covered in raw meat. And the black people, and just runs. We're then introduced to the film's antagonist, amazing comedic force and wonderful actress Jessica Walter.
You passed out cigarettes for a smoke-a-thon on Earth Day, you installed speed bumps on the handicapped ramps, and most recently you dumped 100 pounds of meat on a peaceful vegan protest.
The women covered in meat use language that sounds ridiculous and rat out the meat throwers.
Unconscionable. Offended.
This is treated negatively. The film treats them as buzzkills trying to ruin the frats' good times, simultaneously mocking the language of social justice.
It was those persons in the pit again.
I know, Moonbeam.
It sounds weird and makes the normals uncomfortable.
I know, Moonbeam.
So it must be bad, ignoring the fact that this bunch of assholes just threw raw meat on a bunch of fucking innocent people! They were protesting! They were holding signs and chanting. Fuck anybody who holds a sign and chants. Fuck them. Fuck them so hard. We're then introduced to another antagonistic force and rare straw white person in media, David Spade.
Ooh, pretty outfit.
He's the film's reminder that if you adhere to tradition, you're going to be a racist douche. Good for you, movie! Seriously, unambiguously, good for you. Unfortunately, your presented alternative, cynical denial, isn't much better. Now, Spade and Walter's characters conspire together to close down the fraternity, as well they should. These are assholes who just threw meat on a bunch of vegans for fun. Walter arrives at the frat house, the pit, informing our heroes that their house is going to be repossessed if they can't pay their damage bills. So they treat her like shit, because of course they do, and everybody's indignant.
Please put out that cigarette right now.
Oh, all right.
We're the lovable assholes! How dare you kill our buzz by holding us responsible for anything? Our heroes decide to throw a party.
Here's a hint. Legions of hand-stamped meatheads in co-ed naked lacrosse t-shirts, power-chugging, watered-down Meister Chow, regurgitating on the glue-matted floors.
Kiln-like temperatures? Fights would tell these lines of drunken people waiting for the bathroom?
Wait a second. You guys are talking about a party.
Something the PC police would never allow them to do, because obviously anybody who cares about anything must also hate fun. At no point did anybody ask us not to party. And I'm outside of the movie now. I mean, we as a society, nobody said no parties. Nobody. But this movie insists that getting drunk and laid is out of the question for anybody who cares about anything. To which I say, fuck you. I'm drinking bourbon and having fun while I care. Yada yada yada, hijinks ensue as they try to pull the party together. We get some legitimately hugely funny moments, not at the expense of marginalized groups, and mostly coming from the awesome and talented Jon Favreau.
Can you blow me where the Pampers is?
What?
Can you blow me where the Pampers is?
Pre-Frosh meets the straw white people who hate anybody who isn't straight, white, rich, cisgendered, etc., etc.
Carter Prescott, pledge master of the secret fraternity of Balls and Shaft.
And this is where the movie is at its most diabolical. We're making fun of racist, classist, misogynist assholes, right? We must be a force for good, right? Jeremy Piven has a black friend.
Yeah. Damn, look at him.
No. Just because you portray cartoonish, overt racism and homophobia as bad doesn't mean you aren't perpetuating the subtler forms of shitting on those society deems unworthy. It also doesn't mean your movie doesn't have a terrible message, which, at its core, as we discussed, and as we see when the film resolves, is everybody shut the fuck up about your causes and stop fighting for equal treatment. The white people and their black friend have beer and music. Which they do, and everybody puts down their signs. They all decide to be cool. They all decide to let their issues go and get along. Because what everybody really needs in this world is to calm down. Forget about racism and sexism, they're non-issues. You're making them a problem, they're not actually a problem. Fuck you. And oh, George Clinton's here!
If you get in my eyes, you're a sinner, I don't care.
Have a good party.
That's totally fine if you're already on top, and this is where the word privilege comes into play. Upon saying that word, I just heard the sound of 1,000 buttholes clenching and the tens of people, literally tens, who have made it this far in the video, clicking the little X icon on the top right of their browser windows. But I hope you'll stick with me because this is important. I once was out at a bar with a group of filmmaker friends. One insisted that privilege wasn't real, and was just language used to hate on men, white people, straight people, you get the idea. Whether you've said it or you've heard it, you know the drill. I turned to every man conveniently occupying the table to my left and asked them, when you leave this bar, what is your plan for avoiding sexual assault? Predictably, they all looked at me, dumbfounded, wide-eyed, and without any real answer. I turned to the women, conveniently occupying the table to my right, and asked them the same question one by one. I have mace in my purse, one answered. I won't walk by myself, another answered. I hold my car key like a knife, the last answered, as if that's perfectly okay and not at all horrifying. When people use the word privilege, they're not constructing a narrative. They're not lying. They're using a word to describe how they go through some fucked up shit they have to deal with that you probably don't. These women had plans for not being sexually assaulted. Plans. Plural. All of them. Literally all of them had planned their whole night around it. That's how often they have to think about it. The men didn't, and that's all we mean when we use that word. It is a privilege not to have to worry about X. That's it. Privilege is the ability to be oblivious. Do you not think about your race when you walk down a nice street? Odds are pretty damn good you're white, because nobody else really gets to do that. We called pointing out that some people have it better than others political correctness in the 90s. And we demonized anybody who implied that we weren't already awesome people above reproach. The film itself even points out that what we were calling political correctness at the time is probably a good thing, as David Spade's character, a cartoonish villain, lists what he feels are the negatives of being PC.
I can see it now, Andrews. You and all the knee-jerk, bleeding heart liberals, sipping tea and playing patty cake, and those useless hippie potheads, those commie pinko leftists, the bunny huggers, the pillow biters.
Wait, which one of the pillow biters?
The butt pirates!
Oh.
And those beastly man-haters, tell those chicks to shave their pits and call me. The goddamn whiny crybaby minorities, you can keep them all.
So people asking to be treated better were made to look ridiculous and equated with ridiculous things. The film presents minority groups as whiny protesters ruining the cool kids' good time, treats women like trophies, and reduces a movement designed to improve society to baseless stereotypes. It also ends on a literal rape joke.
Initiation.
Just try to relax.
So it's evil, right? It must be stopped, right? You, weird internet guy with your crazy ideas, must hate it and want to see it burned in effigy, right? Well, no. This may surprise some folks, but this is an entertaining movie, and its extremely problematic elements don't change that. I just wish it didn't do those things. That's all. I wish it were better than that. I wish that it did better comedy. Here's the thing. It's important to engage with our media. I don't want to censor anybody. Censorship is bullshit. But criticism is also important. I don't want to tell artists they can't do a thing. That's never the answer to anything. What I do want is for artists to ask themselves, what message is this sending, both consciously and subconsciously? Am I being a responsible storyteller? Am I getting the right laugh or the easy laugh? Sometimes the media we love doesn't love us back, and it's okay to point out when that happens. PCU's treatment of social issues is abhorrent. Its mistreatment of already marginalized groups is irresponsible at best. But with very few changes, this movie could have had all of the fun that it had, and not at the expense of people who were just asking to not be treated like shit. Now, as a society, we tried to have this conversation in the 90s, and we failed. Hard. We screamed and cried and stepped on our own dick as a society. This conversation is happening again. I'm weirdly hopeful. With the advent of social media, creators can no longer ignore the voices of those they hurt. It's getting harder to be an asshole. A litany of people are already doing what I'm trying to do here. I could keep my mouth entirely shut forever and the work I'm doing would still be done by somebody. We're progressing. But I, and hopefully you, am done with letting 90s cynicism continue on long past its expiration date. I'm done keeping my mouth shut. I'm done insisting that I'm not an asshole while being an asshole. I'm done, taking pride in being an asshole or absolving myself from responsibility. I'm done. In the 90s, nobody was saying that we weren't good people. They were telling us how to be better people. And this time, I think we can get it right. For Sopa Justice Warriors, I'm Joe. It's been an honor and a privilege. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
The school used to be a bastion of rich, white elitism. Now they let homosexuals on the football team. Whining minorities run the student government, and you can't even coerce a woman into having sex without being brought up on charges. What is this world coming to?
You've been working as a waitress all day, but you are Manhattan or something cliche. Head up